The Substance is a body horror satirical sci-fi film by director Coralie Fargeat. She directs and writes this film. It is her follow-up to her debut film, a rape and revenge story called Revenge back in 2017. I never watched that one because I watched the trailer. It didn't really grab me, and that subgenre of horror is not really my favorite, so I didn't watch that one, but I heard good things. Anyways, this one is about Elizabeth Sparkle. She is a Hollywood actress who won an Oscar. She was really big back in the day, however. Now she's sort of relegated to workout television for the morning show, doing like a workout program like Olivia Newton-John. However, she's getting up in years, and on her 50th birthday, overhears her boss is going to push her out. So she finds herself in a bit of a midlife crisis of sorts until she gets a sort of package from someone offering to change her life with the substance. She's given a piece of paper and a USB presentation that essentially pitches that you can inject this black market drug. You'll birth out another version of yourself, a better version of yourself, but you have to switch back and forth every week in order to refresh the body. If you don't know, there's a lot of other side effects and other rules, but Elizabeth's so desperate she decides to order it, inject herself, and she births a new version of herself called Sue, a young, hot, beautiful young thing, and essentially replaces herself at work without the knowledge of her coworkers. However, there's a weird balance that has to be respected, and once the balance is not respected, she sort of goes to war with herself, and it ends up being a sort of self-identity crisis. Without getting into the plot, this movie is essentially a Junji Ito horror story. The body horror aspects are really, really great. It also feels like a Cronenberg story at times. I know Cronenberg is still active right now, and his daughter recently had a film debut, and his son Brandon Cronenberg has done a couple of pretty solid films himself. But Coralie Fargeat, this feels like a successor to those way over-the-top body horror films. This movie is insane. It's audacious. It is just, it literally bats for the fences and never lets go. You can sometimes feel that it's a little bit over the top, and that's kind of like what she's into. She's definitely reveling into the body horror and the gruesome factors, but it's something she wrote and directed she likes, and there's some bluntness in terms of the satirical elements. Production design especially, like for example, the substance comes in a big box, and the USB has a giant name called The Substance on it, or a billboard will just say The Show. It's like the equivalent of like her getting cereal, and you see like a giant thing that just says cereal brand instead of like a type of fake cereal. Sometimes the satirical aspects are a little bit too blunt, but that's a small nitpick. Honestly, the feeling of this movie is like, imagine you go on vacation once a year for 2 weeks and you get to do whatever you want on the vacation. However, when you come back and you have to do the other 50 weeks of working, it feels like a drag. What if you were to do something to sort of juke the stats and get an extra vacation in there? And that's kind of like the main conflict point of this film. But I feel like this movie is really great because it has themes of body image and society and sexism. It's obviously pushed a little bit really hard, and certain characters feel like cartoons. There's like a neighbor. There's her boss. Doesn't really have any friends, so Elizabeth basically finds herself sort of isolated and sort of warping herself in order to fit society's standards. But it's a great jab at the male gaze of sorts. There's like a literal like 3-minute sequence of just perverted gyrating that's a homage to Eric Pride's or perverted rap music videos. And sometimes they lay it on a little thick, but overall the movie has great production value. It's a pretty cheaply made film too. It's only made it for about $18 million. But this movie just goes for broke. We're not getting a sort of held back vision. We're getting the full force vision of the director, which I really liked. And the movie just manages to make you squirm in your seat, but also laugh, but also feel bad for the characters on screen. It's got a gonzo performance from Demi Moore, and especially Margaret Qualley. Definitely unlike anything I've ever seen before. This movie is amazing, audacious, wonderful, wild. I gave it a perfect 10.